But we begin tonight with this. The woman of your dreams just may have a Russian accent. Don't take it from me. Take it from this mail-order bride company website. All afternoon when I was prepping for this segment in my office today, I was very worried that somebody was going to walk in the door of my office and see me with this up on my computer screen. I thought people would think I was looking at porn. Technically, this is not porn. This is the website for a marriage service. See, it says so right there above the lady with the bra straps falling down and the lady in the red, white, and blue bikini, who's maybe, what is she doing? Is she stretching? Is that some sort of bikini yoga? We think of the mail-order bride industry as a relic of the past, but the industry not only still exists, it has been updated for the computer age. So you don't pick your bride out from the back of a magazine or a catalog now. Now you pick her out online. This service, Encounters International, specifically markets Russian ladies. They say Russian women are no longer the best-kept secret of the Cold War. They advertise to American men who might want to marry these women and thereby allow them to emigrate to this country. They advertise that Russian women, quote, have a different outlook on life and marriage. They are less materialistic than their American counterparts and are more family-oriented. As wives, they desire to build a loving home, follow their husband's lead, and stick with the marriage even when times get tough and things stop being fun. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by when things stop being fun. But one of the worrying aspects of the whole mail-order bride phenomenon, not just now, but always, is that a woman who immigrates to the United States using a service like this can end up dependent for her immigration status in this country on the American man to whom she has just been married for a fee. And if that American man starts beating her up, an immigrant woman who came to America under these circumstances can kind of be trapped. I mean, you don't want her to stay with the abusive guy who bought her hand in marriage on the internet. But if she leaves the abusive American husband, she also may lose the marriage tie that was making it legal for her to be here. And she will therefore get deported. So that's the choice, right? Stay with the man who is beating you or get deported. To help women out of that disgusting and dangerous trap, there is a program by which women who are being abused and whose immigration status depends on being married to their abuser, those women can, in a low-key way, without tipping off the guy who is beating them, they can apply for legal immigration status in this country that's unconnected to the abusive husband. It is a special visa program under the Violence Against Women Act. Republicans in Washington are trying to roll that back. The Violence Against Women Act was first passed almost 20 years ago. When he was in the Senate, Vice President Joe Biden wrote the original bill. It passed with bipartisan support. The act was reauthorized in the year 2000. It was reauthorized again in 2005. It has never been a particularly controversial thing until now. Republicans in the Senate initially voted it down this year on a party line vote. They gave it 0 votes in committee. It finally did pass the full Senate on a 68-31 vote. All 31 no votes there were all male Republican senators. All the Republican women in the Senate voted for it, but 31 men voted no. But now it's over in the House. And House Republicans are not for it. They introduced a Republican counterproposal that undoes big portions of the Violence Against Women Act. Their changes, for example, would take away the anonymity from that special visa program for beaten women, thereby advancing the important public policy goal of alerting the abusive husbands of mail-order brides if the woman they're beating is trying to get away from them. Why has the Violence Against Women Act turned into this? Why have the politics around this issue changed so much this year, after being such a non-controversial thing for decades? It's because the right wing of the right wing just decided this year that they were going to make an issue out of it. This, for example, is a letter signed by the Family Research Council, by the Eagle Forum, by Liberty Counsel, which is affiliated with the Jerry Falwell University, at which Mitt Romney gave the commencement speech this past weekend, also the Traditional Values Coalition. This is them writing to Congress to say, don't reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act. As first reported by Right Wing Watch today, one of the signatories to this letter is a former vice chair of the North Carolina Republican Party, who himself has a felony domestic violence conviction on his record. He got a suspended sentence of 18 months in prison after admitting to beating his wife into the hospital, breaking her nose, breaking her toes, breaking a piece of furniture over her back. Police found his wife in the couple's home on Christmas Day, bleeding from the face and suffering from other injuries. He pled guilty to felony aggravated assault in that case. He is now one of the signatories to the Vote Against the Violence Against Women Act letter, right? It's a letter signed by him and by all those groups that have the word values in their names. One of the other signatories in this coalition that seems to have persuaded Republicans to be against the Violence Against Women Act this year is a group called SAVE, S-A-V-E, a group based in Rockville, Maryland. They have been lobbying House Republicans to oppose the Violence Against Women Act this year. They've been lobbying specifically to roll back some of the protections for immigrant women. The treasurer of that group, SAVE, that's lobbying to get rid of the visa rule that I explained that can help mail-order brides, one of the officers of that group, the treasurer of that group, is the founder of this thing that everybody thought was porn on my website all day today, the Russian mail-order bride company, which again promises that these women will follow their husband's lead and stick with the marriage even when times get tough. And just think how much tougher you can make those times if she knows that not sticking with the marriage means she gets deported back to Russia. So yeah, the whole Republicans have a war on women thing, this is the sort of thing that has given rise to that sentiment that Republicans have a war on women. This is how you earn a political epithet like that. And for what it's worth, Democrats have really been fighting like heck on this issue. President Obama has personally brought this issue up multiple times in recent weeks. The president all but promising to veto the Republicans' rollback of the Violence Against Women Act, which passed the House today. Vice President Biden has brought the issue up multiple times. He, of course, wrote the first Violence Against Women Act. One of the president's top advisors, Valerie Jarrett, has an op-ed out on this issue today. Nancy Pelosi has been front-paging this issue in her position as the Democrats' leader in the House. And today, at a press conference on Capitol Hill, a Wisconsin Democratic congresswoman named Gwen Moore went all out, not just on the legislation, but on what, in her personal experience, has convinced her that the Violence Against Women Act is so important.
You know, one experience that I had that occurred to me, I thought of this morning, was a time when I took a ride with a guy I thought was a friend to go to get some fried chicken. And he decided to take a detour behind some buildings to rape me and choke me almost to death. I was sort of seeing that little light that you often hear about. As a woman of color, I am particularly aggrieved that this bill ignores the special circumstances of women who are minorities, women who are in the shadows. Stop playing games with the lives of women. This is yet another. They don't want to hear us talk about it being a war on women. But I mean, this is a direct assault on women's lives. 3 women a day die from victimization. And I would implore my colleagues to stop playing games.
The House voted on and passed the Republican rollback of the Violence Against Women Act today. Passed it on a nearly party line vote. So that was today in this crazy war on women idea that has no basis in reality. You want to know what Republicans are going to do tomorrow to earn that epithet all over again? Tomorrow, Republicans are focusing on Washington, D.C., which, as you know, is the seat of our nation's capital. It is also, in its own right, a real American city. D.C. has a mayor, it has a city council, but it is not a state, and it is not part of any state, and therefore Congress, as a federal entity, plays this weirdly local role in what the city of Washington, D.C. can do with its own business. As such, D.C. often bears the brunt of whatever is in political fashion for members of Congress that year. They tend to take their highest priority partisan issues at the federal level and impose them on the District of Columbia against D.C.'s will. Republicans are in control of the House right now. And what's the priority for Republicans this year? What's the issue that they are more focused on making policy about than anything else across the country? That would be the issue of abortion rights. Arizona Congressman Trent Franks, he represents Arizona, has decided that in his infinite Arizona wisdom, he should take it upon himself to limit when you are allowed to get an abortion if you are a woman who lives in Washington, D.C. They keep doing this. House Republicans insisted last year, as part of the national budget, that Washington, D.C. be blocked as a city from using any of its own city funds to subsidize any abortion services. Not federal money, but the city's own money. They're not allowed to decide what to do with it. Congress is likely this year to force a ban on local funding for abortions as a condition of D.C. getting some say in its own budget. And now Republican Congressman Trent Franks has a standalone bill that he's holding a hearing on tomorrow about the federal government stepping in to impose new limits on abortion rights for women who live in Washington, D.C. Why should a guy from Arizona be legislating what happens in this little city that's between Maryland and Virginia? Jobs, jobs, jobs? I have no idea why Trent Franks thinks he was sent to Congress to impose on a city he does not represent rules that that city does not want. But he seems very confident in it. He seems so confident in it, in fact, that he is not allowing the member of Congress who represents Washington, D.C., to have a say in this matter. I mean, actually, she's not allowed to vote, so she definitely doesn't get to have a say in this matter, but he won't even let her comment on it. He won't even allow her to be heard on the subject. Trent Franks, Republican congressman from Arizona, is holding a hearing on his anti-abortion bill that targets D.C. tomorrow. The representative from D.C., Eleanor Holmes Norton, has asked to speak at that hearing since it is a hearing only about her city. The answer from House Republicans is no. It is about Washington, D.C., but the views of the elected representative from D.C. are not welcome. Not when the guys are busy talking about abortion. Jobs, jobs, jobs.